let's turn to hymn number 31. Pastor's got a bulletin for you so that you can go somewhere sometime and get a free meal because you brought your bulletin to church sometime. There's places that do that.
It's being recorded.
Page 31, stand as we sing He Lives. Page, hymn number 32, He Lives on High.
you. Good afternoon, folks.
I do.
Good evening. Good afternoon. Whatever it is. Happy Resurrection Day. Amen. And He lives on high. How many remember when you were a low down sinner? But He lives on high. We're doing some recording to see how this will, we don't know how long churches will be operating like this. So we might as well learn how to do it, right? Get some good music on tape here. And the microphone is a little weak from that distance, so we have to turn the volume up a little bit. And pray for the sick of the church, those that are not doing well. Shut-ins, and Brother Ed Smith, don't forget him, in isolation, the nursing home. And so anyway, we'll be studying the book of John, chapter 20, here in a little bit. And so I think we have, Brother Gray, you have some more music? Yes. Okay. And so we're going to have him come at this time and sing another song. Appreciate that.
All right, just a few more pages to the right. Christ arose, number 36. Let's stand again as we sing Christ arose.
My Lord.
Amen. Amen. Martha, do you have a piano solo you'd like to do for the offertory substitute? Amen. Thank you. Thank you. John chapter 20, and we'll study the resurrection. It's good to have our 9 staff members here, so we could not overload the numbers. John chapter 20. I see, no matter what I do up here, I see frowning faces, for the record. John 20. It is Resurrection Sunday, 2020, and the COVID plague days. It's an historical event. Never on earth has it ever been like this. And we need to remember that the latter days are here. Yeah, amen. They finally showed up in our lifetime. Now let's turn to John 20 and stand, and we'll read verse 30 and 31. And is the resurrection story doubtful or peaceful? Is the resurrection story doubtful or peaceful? It says here in the last 2 verses of chapter 20, and many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you might have life through his name. 31 again. These are written that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ, Son of God, and that believing you might have life through his name. So Lord, we ask you to guide in the scriptures and help us to leave here in the peace of Jesus Christ through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And may others be saved around the world by what we do here today. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Thank you. Be seated. Question is, the resurrection, is it a doubtful story or a peaceful story? Now, watching several broadcasts today, there's a lot of information and science, but here we're not talking to those that are in doubt of the resurrection. Now, people that might watch a bit taping might stand in doubt of it, but we don't. Small crowd here today of 10 people. And but even the disciples themselves, under pressure, doubted the resurrection. They were there, but they doubted the resurrection under intense pressure. Pressure from the devil and pressure from mankind. So the question here is, do we believe Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and also do we believe we have eternal life through his name? That's the statement of 31. All this is written that we might believe that Jesus is the Christ, not a Christ, and that he is the Son of God, the Son of God, not a Son of God. And do we believe in the last sentence that we have eternal life through his name? That's the whole gist of the resurrection. Is he the Christ? And do we have eternal life through his resurrection? So now we have here, if the resurrection is doubted, it breeds fear. If a Christian doubts the resurrection, or anyone doubts the resurrection, they live a life of fear on this earth. And a lot of folks drink, so they forget their worries. They do drugs to forget their worries. But people that have Christ don't need to get drunk or high. They don't need to steal. They don't need to beg. They don't need to play the lottery. They don't need to enter the sweepstakes, even though many, many millions do. But if we really believe the resurrection, we don't need to live that fearful, beggarly life Paul calls it. So we have here 4 things we have in the passage that we'll look at. So first we look at chapter 20, verse 1 to 18. What we see there, to doubt the resurrection brings fear in the morning. It is now not morning, it is actually closer to the evening. A special service that we have here. So to doubt the resurrection, it tells us in these verses, brings fear in the morning. This happened early in the morning. And it says the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre, the grave. Then she runneth, and so the grave has been messed with. See? She runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, meaning John, saith unto them, they've taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have taken or laid him. Notice the nervousness and the fear in the morning. Peter therefore went forth, that other disciple, meaning John, and came to the sepulchre. So they ran both together. The other disciple did outrun John, came first to the sepulchre. And he, stooping down and looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet went he not in. Then cometh Simon Peter, following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seeth the linen clothes lie, and the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Then went in also that other disciple, which came first to the sepulchre, and he saw and believed. Saw and believed. For as yet they do not the scripture that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again unto their own home. Moving on to verse 11. But Mary stood without the sepulchre weeping. Notice the disappointment and the fear. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and seeth two angels in white, sitting the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? The fear. She saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. When she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, thou hast borne him hence. Tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Jesus saith unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Jesus saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and to your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. Now, quickly turn left to Luke 24. So we see this fear of doubt. It comes in the morning here, very early. And so she's made better by meeting the Lord. But how was that fear of doubt, how was it transferred? In Luke 24, look at verse number 10 and 12. And tells us about their reaction in the book of Luke. It says it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and other women that were with them, which told these things unto the apostles. And their words seemed to them as idle tales. They believed them not. And so we have here, to doubt the resurrection brings fear in the morning. So what should have been a great, joyous, wonderful occasion, a miracle, was now the worst thing on earth to these people. And they've walked with him for 3.5 years, and yet still doubted the power of the resurrection. So we see here that doubt brings us the fear of the unknown. They could not give an answer to what had all had happened after he was buried on a Saturday, and but he rose on a Sunday. That's why we meet at church on Sundays, to honor the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's the only good reason. So here we are in the midst of the COVID epidemic, pandemic, plague, and there's a lot of unknowns, which cause people to have been in fear for months now, and dying by the hundreds, if not the thousands. And so there's a lot of fear. There's fear about meeting and touching and breathing and talking and meeting anybody. So it's a COVID fear we're going through, but we must remember not to doubt the resurrection, because doubting the resurrection power takes us into doubtful fear. And always remember that fears bring tears. What? Yes. Fears bring tears. There's people crying all over the world right now while we're enjoying our small service today. Because we do not doubt the resurrection. And if we were in those same shoes, we would have to remember that Jesus is alive and well, and he wants us to be alive and well as well. Now, secondly, we'll go back to John. We'll stay where we're at in Luke because we can pick up right here. So, first, to doubt the resurrection brings fear in the morning. And secondly, we see to doubt the resurrection brings fear during our daytime as well. It started in the morning, but it continued throughout the day on that Sunday. 24:13, we pick up here where we left off. And it says, and behold, two of them went that same day to a village. So now it's daytime. And they went to the village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. It came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another as ye walk, and are what? And you are sad. And one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering, said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? He said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. But we trusted, past tense, notice. We trusted that it had been. So, what's happened here? Doubt. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. Beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Now let's go to verse 25 from here, pick up on 22. Third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. When they found not his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. Certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even so as the women had said, but him they saw not. Then he said unto them, Jesus speaking as a stranger, he says unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. So to doubt the resurrection brings fear in the morning, and to doubt the resurrection brings fear during the daytime. We had the COVID fear we see here, and we have this COVID sadness. We say COVID because we know now what that means today. And so the fear of the unknown we see here. And then we have, secondly, the fear of the supposed known. They thought they had all the truth there was. But the problem was. They have forgotten. They quit trusting in what they already knew for 3.5 years. So the fear of the unknown will come when we doubt the resurrection. The fear of the supposed known, what we've already learned, will also come in doubt. And then let's go back to John 20. Thirdly, we have to doubt the resurrection brings fear to our evenings as well. Morning, daytime, and the evening we pick up here. So to doubt the resurrection brings fear to our evenings. Fills up the entire day. John 20, let's look at verse number 19. just the first part of that. So, now it's the evening, and they're meeting together. Then the same day at when? Evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for what? Fear of the Jews. So we see thirdly that to doubt the resurrection brings fear to our evenings as well. It ruins the entire 24-hour period. Now verse 24 and 25, he goes down here. Doubting Thomas, don't we call him that? But Thomas, one of the 12 called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. So to doubt the resurrection brings great fear to even the evenings, the daytime, and the morning as well. What we see here is the fear of man. It says they were fearful because of the Jews. Quickly turn to Proverbs 29:25. We're meeting here today because we love Jesus Christ, and we want to assemble as they assembled on the first day. It says they assembled, which is the word church. It comes from the word church. And so we have 29 and verse 25. The news media has showed us all over the country, people are doing strange things in the community to keep people healthy. We all understand that. We're glad of that. But I'm glad that we have met the requirement of the government to meet here today. Space all over the auditorium, and just 10 of us in the room, and some would not come. Some came and left because they did not want to overload. But we should not fear what man can do unto us. We're doing helping the government help the community. We're not saying, I got rights. We're not doing that. We're presenting ourselves before the Lord as an assembly, and we're obeying the ordinances of men. But soon it'll lift, and we'll go back to enjoying all of our freedoms, not just a few. So we're not meeting here with 10 people because we're afraid of what somebody might do to us. It's just like Brother Cyrus said, well, if I get a ticket, I'll just pay it and keep on with my life. We're not here to be proud. We're here to worship the Lord Jesus Christ. He is not dead. He is alive forevermore. But it says here in Proverbs 29:25, read it out loud with me. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. Isn't that a great verse? Let's read it again. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. What a great passage written at least 3,000 plus years ago, and is still true today. And so we go back to Luke 24. Let's look at that real quick. And we're reading the Bible because there's a lot of folks who might watch a recording that don't have a Bible and don't have the real Bible. They may have a facsimile thereof in the Bible, but not really the Word of God. So we pick up in the verse 24:37. And it says here, but they were what? They were terrified and affrighted and supposed that they had seen a spirit. When Jesus showed up at that meeting, They were there because they were fearful of man, what could happen to them, since they were friends of Jesus. And then they're also afraid and fearful and doubtful because of superstition has crept back into their lives. There's a difference between religion and superstition. A lot of religions are nothing but superstition. Have no facts, have no data. We have a Bible that was written over a period of about 1,600 years by at least 40 to 44 different writers who most never met the other writers. It's a miracle book for a miracle God. So the death, the resurrection brings fear to our evenings and to our daytime and to our mornings. And so we saw they had the fear of the unknown, and then they had the fear of the supposed known, and now they have a fear of the real known. Things are really going on around them, and they're scared to death. We should not fear just because we hear something that sounds strange, or somebody says something different, and we all of a sudden are intimidated. We should not give in to those things. So we have the COVID fear, the COVID sadness, and here the COVID terror shows up in our day. And we've got to keep both feet firmly planted on the ground, be grounded in Christ. Now let's go back to John 20 and finish up. So the death, the resurrection brings us fear in the morning, in the daytime. It brings us fear in the evening, as we've seen this whole day go pass by them. But to fully believe the resurrection, brings a life of peace morning, noon, and night. To fully believe the resurrection truth, we call it a story, but sometimes I don't like to. Stories sometimes we think are nursery rhymes or something. But this is a resurrection truth that we're dealing with, not a resurrection story. It cannot be changed. It cannot be altered. It cannot be added to. There will never be a second resurrection by a Savior. That's done once. The virgin birth is done once. There's certain things in the Bible that never happen twice. You'll never be saved two times. You will be saved once by a Savior who died once, who rose once. Amen. So to fully believe the resurrection truth brings a life of peace in the morning, at noon, and at night. John 20, and let's go to verse 19, where we left off, the second part. It says here, they were settled for fear of the Jews. Here's the good news. Came Jesus